Lewis Hamilton doesn't just make money from racing. He built a business empire bigger than Formula One itself. $100 million in a single year. That's the estimated total income Lewis Hamilton generated in 2025 alone, making him, according to Sportico, the first Formula One driver in history to reach 9 figures in annual earnings from salary and endorsements combined. But here's the question worth asking. How much of that $100 million came from actually driving a car? And how much came from something else entirely? Because Lewis Hamilton has spent 2 decades doing something no other racing driver has ever done at this level. He didn't just race, he built brands, companies, a cultural identity so powerful that the sponsors come to him. The Hollywood studios call him. The fashion houses line up. Today, we're going inside the financial architecture of the most commercially successful driver in Formula One history. This is how Sir Lewis Hamilton really made his millions. The story begins not in wealth, but in the absence of it. Lewis Carl Davidson. Hamilton was born on January 7, 1985, in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, England. His father, Anthony Hamilton, worked multiple jobs to fund his son's karting career. Lewis slept in a caravan at race weekends. There were no shortcuts. There was no family fortune. There was only speed. At 8 years old, he won his first karting championship. At 13, he walked up to McLaren boss Ron Dennis at an awards dinner and told him he wanted to race for McLaren one day. Dennis wrote his number in a notepad. 3 years later, he signed Hamilton to the McLaren Junior program. In 2007, Hamilton made his Formula One debut at the Australian Grand Prix, becoming the first black driver to compete in the sport. He finished third on his debut. He won 4 races that rookie season. He lost the World Championship by 1 point on the final lap of the final race. The world took notice, not just of the driver, of the story. And in elite sport, the story is where the money begins. Fast forward 12 years at Mercedes, 6 world championships, a dynasty, and then in early 2024, a bombshell. Hamilton activates a release clause and signs for Ferrari. It shocks the paddock. It dominates global headlines. But behind the romance of the red car, there are numbers. Extraordinary numbers. Most widely reported figures place Hamilton's base pay at approximately $50 to $60 million per year, with performance bonuses and image rights pushing the total annual package toward $100 million. That salary makes Hamilton the highest-paid driver Ferrari has ever signed, surpassing legends like Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Kimi Räikkönen, and Sebastian Vettel. All are multiple-time world champions in their own right. $60 million in base salary at a team that has not won a constructor's title since 2008. Ferrari did not just hire a driver, they hired a global brand, and global brands do not come cheap. The contract also includes provisions for Hamilton's charitable foundation Mission 44, with reports indicating that 25% of certain salary components are directed toward the initiative focused on education and employment for young people from underrepresented backgrounds. Even at the contract level, he thinks beyond the garage. Here is where Lewis Hamilton separates himself from every other driver on the Formula One grid. Not in lap times, not in pole positions, in brand architecture. His endorsement portfolio includes Puma, Tommy Hilfiger, IWC, Lululemon, Dior, Monster Energy, Bell Helmets, Sony, HP, and Perplexity, an artificial intelligence search platform that signed in mid-2025. These deals are collectively worth an estimated $25 to $30 million per year. Think about that list for a moment. Luxury watchmakers, French fashion houses, a tech artificial intelligence company, a Canadian athletic wear brand that had never partnered with a Formula One driver before Hamilton. He is selective about his partnerships, declining deals that conflict with his public positions on sustainability and social justice. This is not passive income. This is curated power. Hamilton chooses his associations the way a gallery chooses its artists. Every brand on that list says something about who he is, and collectively, they generate a revenue stream that most professional athletes in any sport will never approach. But even the sponsorships are not the most interesting part of how Hamilton is building long-term wealth, because unlike almost every other driver in the history of the sport, he is investing strategically, aggressively, and in industries that have nothing to do with Formula One. Hamilton produced the 2025 Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt alongside Apple Studios and Jerry Bruckheimer, a Hollywood blockbuster co-created by the man it's partly about. He didn't just consult, he co-produced. His company, Dawn Apollo Films, gets a credit, and the revenue that follows. His business ventures span fashion, film production, spirits, and professional sports ownership, each one a deliberate BET on a different sector. In 2023, he launched Almave, a non-alcoholic blue agave spirit distilled in Mexico, with Mexican spirits firm Casa Lumbre. French drinks giant Pernod Ricard invested in the company in 2024, and the brand was added to Target stores across the United States. That's not a celebrity product. That's a real consumer goods play with institutional backing and national distribution. And then there's sport ownership. Hamilton holds a stake in the NFL's Denver Broncos, one of the most valuable franchises in American sport, and in TMRW Sports, which owns the Indoor Golf League TGL. These are equity positions, the same category of wealth creation that made Toto Wolff a billionaire. Not salary, not sponsorship, ownership. In 2025, Hamilton rebranded his off-track business operations under a single corporate identity, Lewis Hamilton Ventures, consolidating his investments, partnerships, and commercial activities across food, fashion, film, spirits, and professional sports. This is not an athlete with a side hustle. This is a diversified holding company with a racing driver at the top. So where does all of this leave the numbers? Hamilton's estimated career earnings since his 2007 Formula One debut have reached approximately $880 million. His current net worth, depending on the source, is estimated at anywhere between $285 million and $500 million, figures that vary based on how investments and equity stakes are valued, and all of which are estimates, not officially confirmed. The Sunday Times named him Britain's richest active sportsman, with a fortune of nearly £400 million, approximately $510 million at the time of publication. Now compare that to Max Verstappen, 4 consecutive world championships, estimated at $210 million. He is 11 years younger and is currently outpacing Hamilton on track. The gap in financial fortune is not about speed. It is about time, diversification, and the business decisions made when the helmet comes off. He holds records for most wins, 105, most pole positions, 104, and most podium finishes, 202, in Formula One history. His Ferrari contract runs through 2026 with an option for 2027. The empire continues to expand. So, how did Lewis Hamilton really make his millions? He made them the way all great dynasties are built, in layers. First the talent, then the titles, then the brand, then the empire. The salary came from beating everyone on track for nearly 2 decades. The sponsorships came from becoming the most recognizable athlete in the sport. The investments came from understanding that the finish line is not a podium. It is equity. And here's the thought that should stay with you. Hamilton grew up on a council estate in Stevenage with a father who worked multiple jobs to keep him in a cart. Today, he is estimated to have earned close to $1 billion in his career. He sits in the most storied car in motorsport history. He co-produces Hollywood films. He owns a stake in an NFL franchise. He is, by almost any measure, the most financially powerful driver Formula One has ever produced. Not because he was lucky, because he never stopped building. You've seen how Hamilton built his empire. Have you watched our video on how Max Verstappen made his millions? 2 very different stories. The link is right here. Don't miss it.